It's spelled traitor, not traitor. By Jack of all trades. Chapter 6. Detention. Izuku nursed a mug of tea while his mother and All Might made pleasantries with one another. He had to fight to keep his hands from shaking and spilling his hot drink. Not only would it be a waste, but then All Might would get suspicious of why the young man was so nervous. At least Ingo seemed to be getting along well with Mr. Yagi. He had insisted on the family using his name, having hung up the mantle of All Might after his final battle with All for One. Seeing his emaciated form and watching him cough up blood had triggered Inko's mother bear instincts. She was making sure Yagi was comfortable, warm, and querying what kinds of food he could eat. Once Ingo had gotten her answers and made sure Yagi was settled, she went to bustle about the kitchen to prepare snacks for them to enjoy. Yagi sighed with a bittersweet smile on his face.
Your mother is a very nice woman, young Midori.
Thank you, sir. Izuku sat ramrod straight.
The former hero chuckled. Please, sir is my old sidekick. Call me Yagi.
All right, Mr. Yagi. Yagi leaned back into the couch he had settled himself in, massive hands wrapped completely around the small mug containing his tea.
I must admit, you're not what I was expecting.
Oh?
I've heard my students talking about you. They said you're a young man, but I didn't realize just how young they meant. You must have quite the powerful empathy quirk, or another mental enhancement quirk to have graduated so early.
Well, no, I don't have any of those. And technically, I haven't graduated from any higher institute. Yagi raised an eyebrow over the sunken pits that his eyes had become.
Oh?
I was tutored mostly, but I have gotten my certification from the medical board, so my business is both legitimate and accredited, and I am qualified to treat patients.
I will admit that was a concern of the school board.
Yagi leaned forward.
The teachers have become troubled that the students at UA have been choosing to come to you, rather than make use of the resources the school offers.
Izuku shrugged with a guilty grimace. I don't know what to tell you. I just offer my services to those that come to me. I can't control who comes and who doesn't.
We have talked to a few students about it.
Yagi made a wishy-washy gesture with one hand.
Some said that they wanted to consult someone that they wouldn't be working with in the future.
You have pro-heroes as counselors at UA? The former All Might nodded.
Almost every staff member at UA is a pro-hero. Or,
he gestured to himself,
retired pro.
Fascinating.
Indeed. Anyway, other students we spoke to just said that they heard of you by word of mouth and figured it wouldn't hurt to see what the fuss was about.
I had wondered why business has been booming lately.
The teachers had not been too concerned until our most promising students, the ones of Class 1A of the Heroics course, started to come to you. The staff counselors were worried that, as a civilian, you may not understand how the heroics industry functioned, and so you might give our students advice that could stunt their growth as a hero without realizing.
You're referring to when Mr. Bakugo came in with his friend... I believe my client referred to him as Kirishima?
Correct. What you may not know is that young Bakugo has been struggling with his teachers ever since the field training week before which the class was to choose their hero names. Bakugo was the only student to refuse to capitulate on his choices.
I think I heard about that week. Was that the week of the Hosu incident?
That is correct. The League of Villains tried to push the hero killer stain into the spotlight by releasing their... Wait, I shouldn't be telling you this.
Yagi shook his head and glared suspiciously at Izuku. Sorry. I seem to let people speak about things easier around me. It's not my quirk, I swear. Izuku waved a hand in front of his face. I just find it's easier to help someone if they tell me all that's wrong for them, so I've cultivated this aura, I guess, that helps my clients relax and open up. Izuku did not need Yagi to continue on that train of thought anyway. He knew of the events of Hosu. He had helped to execute it, after all. It was a shame that the Ingenium line of heroes had to meet such an ignominious end, but it had certainly let Stain spread his message further and further until All Might had eventually caught him. So, Bakugo did not want to change his hero name from the original choices he had made. Yagi noted the change of subject back to the issue at hand, but let it slide.
That is correct. We spent an entire year with teachers and counselors alike trying to get him to change it. But then he visits you once, and he changes his mind.
I might know where this could be going, and I'll have to head that off by saying that I am bound by doctor-patient confidentiality law, so I cannot divulge the contents of my session with Bakugo.
That's all right.
Yagi rubbed his knuckles with a thumb.
We have already consulted Bakugo on the matter. His rationale was that the school counselors had simply said that his choice was wrong, and he needed a new one, but never tried to help him come up with a new one other than trying to give him one that they came up with arbitrarily. Whereas you instead walked him through the steps that prompted him to formulate a new one himself.
Yagi leaned in, a twinkle of amusement in his shadowed eyes.
Between you and me, I think the counselors are starting to get jealous of your technique.
Izuku giggled nervously.
I'm sure their techniques are fine. Honed by years of experience, right?
Nevertheless, your next 1A patient is what began making waves. Admittedly, to our shame, we had written Mineta off as a lost cause.
Yagi sunk into the couch, hunching over.
He would not heed warnings, and it took threat of expulsion to prompt him to seek advice on the matter. The teachers and counselors all gave him advice, but none of it seemed to stick for more than a day or two. And then word reached him of your work with the other UA students, and he declared his intention to see this miracle worker for himself.
Oh, I wouldn't call myself a miracle worker,
Izuku mumbled self-consciously.
A lot of people do, though. And lo and behold, after his session with you, Mineta has calmed significantly. He no longer gropes passing students or makes lewd comments. He still gets caught staring occasionally, but nothing nearly as disturbing as his past behavior had been.
I had a lot of people in here this morning to thank me for that one.
Izuku chuckled. What happened to doctor-patient confidentiality?
They weren't my patients. They just came to express their gratitude.
We have reports that you did counsel some of them, though.
Yes, and I won't be talking about the details on those ones.
Fair enough.
Inko finally came back into the living room with a platter of high-calorie and easy-to-digest snacks and another pot of hot tea. Are you two getting along? I know my Zuko can be shy sometimes.
Yes, we are, ma'am. Thank you for your hospitality.
Yagi nodded, gingerly taking a snack and munching on it.
We were actually just going over the rationale for my visit. I was about to reach what prompted UA to decide to send me here.
Oh? Do tell.
I've been going over the largest points of contention with your son, which have been his latest patients. But in our investigations, we traced your influence at UA back to one student, Hitoshi Shinso.
My boy's first customer. I didn't know he was a UA student.
Yes, while young Hitoshi has been progressing admirably, there has been a string of troubling circumstances around him.
Oh dear. Ingo pressed a hand to her cheek.
The young man has gained the attention and tutelage of one of our most acerbic teachers, the underground hero Eraserhead.
I don't think I've ever heard of him before.
He'd be glad to hear that. I say underground hero, but I don't mean it as a prefix like other hero titles. I don't mean underground as in he can burrow or anything, but underground meaning that he avoids media attention when he works to keep his privacy. Now, Eraserhead's quirk allows him to nullify another person's quirk.
Should you be telling us this?
Izuku cut in, worried at what conclusions he was drawing.
It is important context. Occasionally, Eraserhead will try to nullify Hitoshi's quirk during training, only to have Hitoshi use his quirk regardless.
Crap! Izuku thought to himself he hadn't counted on that being an issue.
Upon being pressed, Hitoshi reveals that you use your quirk on him to bestow a new quality on him. Eraserhead had been erasing the effects of your quirk, instead of Hitoshi's inward one.
Quick, diffuse it with humor! Izuku pressed his wrists together and held them towards All Might, head down in a bow.
Okay, take me to jail.
What? Inko screeched.
Excuse me?
Yagi seemed perplexed.
You caught me. I used my quirk to help him. I'm a vigilante. Take me away, All Might.
The room was silent for a moment before Yagi burst out spluttering. He pushed Izuku's hands back towards their owner.
I'm not here to arrest you, young man.
Yagi protested.
You're not? Inko sighed into her chair. Oh, thank goodness.
No, goodness, no.
Yagi exclaimed.
I'm here to address some concerns about you and your quirk.
Ask away. I'm an open book as long as you don't ask questions pertaining to my patients.
Izuku leaned back. Yagi coughed into a red handkerchief that Ingo had given to him upon seeing him spew blood the first time.
Well, Hitoshi said that you call your quirk give and take.
That's right. I could take intangible pieces of someone and give them to someone else. I gave him my own athleticism.
That does match with what Hitoshi told us. There has been concern among the heroes that you've been cultivating favors and blackmail on the next generation of heroes, however, and allowing young Hitoshi to come to prominence as you have could have been your first move.
Izuku scoffed.
Why would I need favors from heroes? I run a business in the busiest area for hero patrols. I don't need to bribe anyone to put me on a priority. I just want to help people to be the best that they can be.
Well, I really shouldn't be telling you this, but if heroes' concerns continue to grow, you have the right to know why you may be facing prosecution.
Yagi steepled his fingers.
You are aware, of course, of the villain who pushed me to retirement. All for one?
Yes, though I hadn't known that's what he was called.
Oh boy, time to start lying like a champ to the single most accomplished hero of all time. Sensei prepared it for this eventuality.
What do you know, then?
From the broadcasts, it seemed like he had a strengthening quirk, one that matched even your own.
Partially correct. All for one certainly did have a strengthening quirk. In fact, he had several. Dozens to hundreds, if what he was saying was true.
Dozens? Ingo played along gamely. Isn't it impossible to have more than one quirk?
That was what made All for One so dangerous. His inborn quirk goes by the same name as he is called. It allowed him to steal the quirks of others and hoard them to himself. It also allowed him to bestow those quirks on those he deemed worthy.
Oh my god, Ingo breathed.
And my quirk looks a lot like it does the same. That's what you're thinking, right?
Izuku put on a shell-shocked face and leaned back into his chair.
You are observant, young man.
Yagi nodded.
Only upon reflection that I realized something. I had weakened significantly since my last confrontation with All for One, and I barely escaped with my life that time. By all rights, I should have been no match for him this time.
Yagi gazed into his own palms.
But we were almost perfectly matched. I only beat him by taking him by surprise. He was surprisingly straightforward, going into a fist fight with me instead of using the quirks he'd stolen over the decades like he had before. I-beams, teleportation, mimicry, illusion, super speed, duplication, any dirty trick he could pull to throw me off like he had before.
He can pass on quirks, Izuku muttered, playing the role. Could he have passed on his own?
Exactly our thoughts.
Yagi sighed, closing his eyes.
We all know that All for One was the patron of the League of Villains. The thought that their leader is running free with the might of All for One behind him is a terrifying thought. All previous actions by this man would indicate he would be wreaking as much havoc as he could, and yet we have not heard a peep from him, and the League remains low-key.
So, you think that my Zuko? Inko played the part of the breathless mother perfectly. Izuku had taught her well.
It certainly appeared at first glance that your given quirk resembles All for One, so they sent me to confirm its presence.
And? Your verdict? Am I the heir to a criminal empire?
Izuku asked. Yagi stared Izuku in the eye for a long moment. Izuku made sure to keep steady eye contact, leaking just enough of his fear at getting caught to leak through his expression to betray his nervousness. Yagi broke the stare first.
No, I don't think so,
the hero admitted.
Even if you had been bestowed with All for One, even without your knowledge, I think you won't be a villain. I can see in you the honest desire to help people, and the willingness to butt in where people might not want you.
Yagi chuckled.
If I were still capable and you were younger, I might even have been tempted to name you my successor.
Successor? Inko tilted her head, frowning.
I shouldn't have said that.
Yagi backpedaled.
Never mind that. My point is that I can help you to clear your name with the heroes if you're willing to cooperate.
What do I have to do? I thought you said that you didn't think I was a villain.
I don't.
Yagi shook his head.
But my word won't be enough for the more proactive heroes, and they'll want you detained anyway, just in case.
So what can I do?
The principal of UA anticipated this, and he has extended an offer for you to undergo some testing at UA to confirm whether or not your quirk is all for one in disguise, and to determine if you are a dangerous individual with or without it.
Sighing, Izuku slumped over. And if I don't go for this, it'll seem even more suspicious. But what about my business? Would I still have time to see my patients?
I'm sure we could work out a schedule.
Yagi smiled.
Though you might be confined to the UA campus for the duration. The counselors might be willing to lend you an office to use in the meantime.
Izuku rested his face in his hands while Ingo rubbed his back. Finally, he took one deep breath and raised his head. I should pack then. Better to get this over with.
That's the spirit.
Yagi nodded approvingly.
I'm sure you'll find the UA campus welcoming. Even if the teachers are cautious about you, I'll be there to help smooth things over. And you've got plenty of admirers among the students, I've heard.
Yeah, going back to school. Every teenager's dream. Should I come with you? Ingo asked, fretting with the edge of her blouse. I don't know if I'm comfortable sending my son off to school after being with him for homeschooling for so long. She made an attempt at a joke. It's okay, Mom. Izuku kissed his mother's cheek. You need to hold down the fort. I hate to ask you to be a secretary again, but I'm afraid someone needs to be here to tell any drop-ins where I've relocated to. Can you do that for me? Of course, dear. Ingo kissed the top of her son's head. But in return, you make sure to cooperate with the heroes, okay? I want you back as soon as you can. Sure thing. It was simplicity itself to pack enough supplies to live for a month at UA. It was already dark by the time Izuku followed the emaciated form of All Might down the street and away from his new home and towards his future at UA.